So it was a deer and his grandma. It was, matter of fact, oh no, that's the one I wanted to hear. So it was a deer and his grandma. And, you know, he called her Nana. So, you know, it was his grandma and a deer. They was walking around in the forest, you know, doing deer stuff, eating bushes, you know, rustling around in the leaves and the dirt, and, you know, just having fun deer stuff, you know, running around. So they eating, you know, his grandma is teaching him about, you know, different bushes and be careful with certain animals in the forest and stuff. So he gets to one area and he sees this bush from in the distance, and he's like, Nana, that bush looks really delicious over there. So she's like, stay away from that bush, boy. And he's like, Nana, I know how to be safe and careful. She's like, it doesn't matter. Just be safe and careful, staying away from it. How about that? So he's like, Nana, I want to go and try it. It looks like it's pretty delicious. I've never seen a bush like that anywhere before. So he's like, oh, Nana, I want to go. It's like, stay away from that bush over there. Stay away from it. It's dangerous. So he goes over there, and, you know, he's like, Nana, I want to go. She's like, stay away from that bush. Promise me you'll stay away from that bush. I don't have to keep on watching you all the time, right? And he's like, all right, I promise, Nana. So he goes, and he goes over, you know, and they're eating, and da-da-da-da-da. And they're leaving for the day. So he goes back to the conversation. He's like, Nana, what was so dangerous about that bush? Can you please just tell me? She's like, I'll tell you one day, but right now, just stay away from it. Be safe. He was like, all right. So can you just tell me, please, one day? She's like, I'll tell you one day. Just, you know, just stay away from it. Be careful and safe. So, you know, he's like, all right, Nana. So he goes, and, you know, a couple more times they go out. So now he's getting older, and, you know, a couple of his buddies, they come by. Hey, let's go out and run around in the forest, man. We could get to the valley and, you know, run through the river and everything like that. So he goes, asks his Nana, like, Nana, can I go out with them? And, you know, a couple of them are a little older, and some of them are his age and everything. So she's like, sure, no problem, you can go out. And she was like, stay away from that bush. You know, because now that you're going out on your own, now I feel like I have to let you know individually, stay away from that bush. So he's like, all right, Nana, all right, I'm out of here. See you later. So he goes, she's like, oh, have fun, have fun. So, you know, he goes out, and he gets over there. And he gets to the bush, and he's looking at the guys, and he's like, they seem to have no regard for it, like they never even noticed it. So they're looking around, you know, and they get to having fun and everything. And he's like, hey guys, I gotta go. It's getting kind of late, you know. I told Nana I wouldn't worry her with anything, so I'm gonna have to turn it in. I had fun. I appreciate the invite. See you later. See you guys a little later. So, you know, he goes out, and he goes back to the area where the bush is, and he's looking around, trying to be really careful. It's like, I told Nana I'd be very careful, so I'm going to definitely have to be very careful, because if anything happens, I will feel so bad that I did this now. So he goes, and he tries the bush. It's like, wow, this bush is the best bush I've ever had in my life. I know that this is why it's all the way over here by itself now, because it's delicious. So, you know, he's eating it for a couple hours, you know, leaves, bushes and stuff like that, you know, eating some of the branches, you know, deer, they just eat it, you know, it's just eating it. So he's going, and he's like, wow, this is really awesome. Then he didn't want to eat the whole bush, so he lets most of it just sit there and, you know, still look nice, because it's a nice looking bush. So he goes, and he's like, alright, I think I had enough. He's looking around, make sure nobody's, you know, any danger around or anything like that, because he always remembers his nana told him, be careful, that bush is dangerous. He's like, well, the bush isn't dangerous, I just ate the bush, it's delicious. So he goes and he's looking around, he gets away, he's like, alright, hey, that seemed pretty simple. I wonder what nana is talking about, this bush is dangerous. That was the easiest, it's easier than anything else, because it was delicious. It's like the best bush I've ever had. That was simple getting to that bush. I never had to do anything that easy, because this dry area right here really seemed to make all the coming to this bush very simple. So he gets back. He's like, Nana, can I tell you something? And she's like, what? He's like, I know you're gonna be upset, but you just gotta let me tell you this one thing. She's like, what is it? He's like, you was being safe today, right? He's like, yeah, I was being safe, Nana. She's like, you didn't hurt yourself or anything like that, right? Like, no, Nana, I'm okay. He's like, did you go over by that bush? He's like, Nana, why'd you have to say it like that? She's like, stay away from that bush, and don't tell me anything about that bush. I don't want to hear that you disrespected me and you disobeyed my request. He's like, you know, I asked you to stay away from that bush. You say you promised me. Like, Nana, I know. He's like, no, I don't want to hear anything. Just get out of my face. I'm upset with you. So he goes away, and he's thinking like, there's no way I'm staying away from that bush. That bush was too delicious, you know. But you know, I gotta let it grow back anyway. So it's gonna be a while before I go back to it. So maybe I can get back on Nana's good side. So he goes, and he's looking around. He's like, Nana, can I just tell you one thing? She's like, no, nothing. I don't want to hear anything about that bush. It's like, come on, Nana, it wasn't that bad. It was. No, I don't want to hear anything. So, you know, he goes, and, you know, some time goes by. He's getting a little bit older. You know, DeaR's aged pretty fast. So anyway, he goes, and, you know, now he's a little bit older. He's starting to get some antlers on him. And he goes and he checks for the bush again. So he's like, wow. Now this time it got berries on it. He's like, he goes to the bush. It's like, wow, these berries look awesome. He starts tasting it, like, they're all right, but you know, I would just guess that this is not when they're the ripest, because they taste pretty good, but they definitely could. I mean, I've tasted berries that taste a little bit kind of better than this. So he's like, well, maybe it's just, you know, too early. So as he's getting away, he looks and he sees that there's something over in the distance. And he's looking over there, and it's looking at him. And they're both kind of looking at each other. So he starts going over, and, you know, the thing starts coming closer to him. And, you know, he starts, like, touching him. So he's like, wow, I never felt that before. That feels pretty good. So, you know, he's like nuzzling on him, and, you know, they're kind of like, you know, enjoying each other, just sitting around enjoying each other, you know, having comfort with each other. So he goes and he's like, wow, that was awesome, you know, because he eventually left and everything like that. So he goes to Nana again. He's like, Nana, I gotta tell you something today. She's like, nothing about the bush, right? He's like, no, it's nothing about the bush. It's like, it was something, some two-legged over, and I walked over. He's like, you seen a two-legged? He's like, yeah. He's like, what did the two-legged do? He's like, Nana, it was like touching me, and it made me feel real nice. I mean, I never felt that nice ever. So he said, I like the way I felt when it was touching me, man. I was playing around with it for a little while. Hey, you're interrupting my story. So he was going, and he's like, yeah, I never felt better than that ever before.
And he already snatched up Cristiano Ronaldo.
I don't know if everybody else knows how big.
So, yeah. So then he goes, and he's like, Nana, that was the best feeling I ever had. I never felt better than that. Not even when you, nestled around with me. So, he goes back, and, now he got the family, got a little bit of, because he goes back a few times. It's nothing like he stopped. He never stopped. So he's like, he got a little family now, and he goes up there, and he goes to the bush this one time, and he's like, now there's a two-legged up there, and the two-legged that's there this time is making this noise. And, he's making this noise, and it's kind of like making him come closer. So he's like, it feels irresistible, like he's like brainwashing him. So he goes, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. I just feel so great. I feel so great going towards him like it's supposed to happen. So he goes, and he gets a little closer, and the two-legged, grabs him by the antlers, and he starts wrestling with him, and he starts throwing him on the ground, and he's like, oh my God, what the hell? Oh my God, get me out of here. He's wrestling him down, throwing him on the ground, and he's trying to hold him down, and he got these long things. He's like trying to hold it down. So then here comes another two-legged, and it's like making all this noise, and then there's another big old gigantic something, and it's making a lot of noise, and it startled him, and the deer gets up and runs away, and in the midst of the deer running away, he got smacked on the side of on his rear. So he got smacked on his rear, and he's running away, and it's like limping, it's like bleeding and stuff. And he's like, man, this really hurts. So he's getting away, and he's trying to figure out what is he gonna do now. His leg is hurting really bad, and he's thinking that he might be really like lose his leg or something like that. So he goes and rests for a little while, like maybe a few days, and he goes. And when he rests, he gets up, and he's like, his leg is still hurting, so, and it's bleeding and everything like that. So he tried to help his leg get better, but it never really got better. So some time goes by, and he's still like, his leg is still hurting. So he goes, and he's like, what's going on with my leg and everything like that? I don't know. He told his nana and everything. She's like, I don't know what to do. It's like, I told you to stay away from that bush. Like, you never wanted to stay away from that bush. All these years, I told you to stay away from the bush. He's like, yeah, but nana, that's the first time that ever happened. It was crazy. It's like, yeah, but, those bushes are very dangerous. And those two-legged too, man. See? I try to tell you to stay away from those two-leggeds. He's like, are you going to stay away from them? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna stay away from them now. The bush and the two-leggeds, I'm finished with all that. So he goes, and, he checks up on the bush periodically, like, man, nobody goes over there. I'm like the only one that ever went over there. I mean, none of the deers even venture that far out into the forest. Like, I'm like the only one that goes all the way over there, and even the only one that goes to the bush. So he's like, he's going over there, just checking on it. He's like, remembering how delicious it is. Like, man, I remember that one two-legged was very nice to me, make me feel nicer than ever. So one day he's over there checking on the bush again, and he hears that same sound that's pulling him towards the sound. Like he has no control over himself. So he's getting pulled closer and closer. It's like inside him, like he can't. There's no way that he can avoid it. So he's getting closer and closer. He's like real scared now, but he can't control. There's no control he has. He's just like zombie. So he's walking, and he gets close, and he starts sniffing the two-legged. And he's like, "It's not sniff. This sniff is familiar." So he gets closer, closer, and the two-legged kind of like rubs him the same way that he rubbed him, you know, a long time ago. He's like, "This is that same two-legged." So he starts nestling with him, and you know, licking his hand, and licking him and everything like that. So he goes, and you know, the two-legged kind of like subdues him. And, you know, wraps him up. He never realized that he was getting wrapped up, but he's getting wrapped up. He tied him up, and he threw him in this big old thing. So he took him in. It was like shiny, and it was like trees, but it was like shiny trees. You know, he's like laying around like, what the heck is going on? Next thing you know, he's asleep. So, you know, the two-legged put him to sleep, and as he wakes up, he comes back, and he's like, where am I? It's like all these brightness everywhere, and he goes, and, you know, he's like kind of really scared, so he starts like flailing. So as he's flailing, he sees that his leg feels a lot better. And, you know, he gets up and he's running around, and his legs feel so awesome, like he never felt since he was an adult, like since he was grown. It's like the two-legged fixed my leg. So he wakes up, he's like, wow. You know, the two-legged gets close to him, and he's like holding him by his neck and, you know, nuzzling with him, and you know, he's like, man, this is the best feeling ever. I never felt this good. So he gets in the big thing again, and you know, the two-legged takes him back over to the bush, feeds him some of the bush. He's like, wow, this is the best day of my life ever. It's like, I gotta tell Nana about this one. So he goes back. He's like, Nana, I know you hate the bush and two-leggeds and everything, but I got to tell you what happened, Nana. She was like, what happened? He's like, Nana, I goes over to the bush today. I had no intention of going to the bush because I told you I was going to stay away from it ever since I got hurt. And she's like, yeah, I know. So he's like, yeah, but this time, you know, one of the two-legged, they lured me. They pulled me with this sound. It was some like sound that turned me into some type of like I had no control over my body. I just had to go towards the sound. And as soon as he get me close enough, he tricked me, and he got me into this thing. So, see, I told you. He said, no, Nana, wait. So he throws me in this big old gigantic hard like wood, you know, like it was like a tree, but it was like shiny, and you know, it was hard like a tree, but it was shiny, and it was like bright everywhere. She's like, oh man, so what's up? What happened? So he goes, he's like, then my eyes were closed, and I didn't see anything. I couldn't hear anything or smell anything. She's like, oh man, what did he do to you? She's like, no. He's like, no, Nana, let's listen. But now I come back. I'm looking around, and I got scared, so I started running around, and I started realizing he showed her. He's like, look at all this stuff on my leg. She's like, what did they do to your leg? She's like, he's like, Nana, it's better. It's better than ever. It's better than it's been since I was grown, since I had my own, you know, buck and my dough. Everything it's better than ever before. She's like, wow. So you're telling me the two-legged fixed your leg? It's like, that's what I'm telling you, Nana. It fixed my leg. It's like, wow, that is really amazing. Yeah, and then he bring me back to the forest and fed me some of the bush. See, they're not that bad, Nana. He's like, so I wanted to just tell you that because, you know, you told me to stay away from them and everything. So now I'm just going to be comfortable and careful, and I'm just going to go over there all the time. She said, all right. So it's like, I'll tell you now why I always told you to stay away from the bush. It's like one day, me, your mom, and your dad, see, that's why you stay with me. we were out just like you. They were very adventurous in you know, exploration. So they wanted to also go to the edge of the forest. We got to the dry area, and it was a lot of these big old stinky, you know, things going back and forth. When we get to the dry area, it was like it was a lot of them. It was making a lot of noise. You know, the two legs were everywhere. They were making a lot of crazy, weird sounds. So we just like, wow, this is crazy. Let's get out of here. So in the meantime, we seen the bush. So it seemed like nobody was paying attention to us. So we just started venturing over towards the bush. As we were venturing over to the bush, here comes the big, gigantic, stinky things, and they're coming really fast. So I tried to tell your mom and your dad, and I turned around immediately. I just got away from there as soon as possible, you know. But it was not meant for your mom and dad to make it. She's like, that's what happened. He's like, yeah, man, because we were trying to get to that bush. And the old two legs everywhere. That's why I tell you that they're so dangerous. He's like, yeah, but Nana, they weren't that dangerous to me in my life. And he said, so Nana, did you ever taste the bush? And she's like, nope. After that time, I never tried again. He's like, wow. So you never tasted the bush, and I tasted bush, and the two legs treated me better than ever. It's like, yep, I guess so.